What's up, people? Welcome back to Daily Red Devil, and welcome to the latest installment of our In-Topic Focus series, where each episode we deep dive into a different topic surrounding Manchester United. On this week's episode, we will be trying to answer the question, what should Manchester United fans expect from Rasmus Hojlund? Before we get into the video though, I do ask that you please do smash a like on the video, please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's jump straight on into it. So as I said, the question for today's episode is, what should Manchester United fans expect from the signing of Rasmus Hojlund? Now, if anybody's been living under a rock and missed the kind of last 24 hours, it has come out from pretty much every different journalist in world football that Rasmus Hojlund is on the brink of signing for Manchester United. An agreement is in place between Manchester United and Atalanta. The deal will be worth £60 million up front, plus £4.3 million in what are being described as achievable add-ons, and then a further £8.6 million in what are being described as difficult add-ons. So it'll be like winning Champions Leagues, scoring X amount of goals, etc., etc. So the total package could end up being worth around 72 million. But as it stands at the moment, it will be 60 million up front, plus all these other add-ons, which may or may not be eventually kind of met. So let's jump straight into the topic then. Now that we've kind of got rid of the formalities of where we are with that kind of situation at the moment, let's have a little deep dive into the player. Rasmus Hojlund, 20-year-old, obviously been playing his football in Atalanta in Serie A for the last season. Before that, he was playing in the Danish league and the Austrian league. He's come to Serie A literally last season. He's only been here 1 year. And he's done quite well. He has. Let's have a quick deep dive into his stats then. So last season, he got 9 goals and 4 assists in 34 matches. But the key thing here that you have to understand is that most of his appearances last year were off the bench. So if you actually have a look at the stats and have a look at his kind of minutes played, etc., it works out a goal or an assist every other game. Does that make sense? Based on a 90-minute game. As I said, his stats are a little bit misleading because a lot of his performances were off the bench and he didn't start the matches. So yeah, I think that's worth clarifying from the off, because you will get other people who don't actually bother to look into this properly and say, he only scored 9 goals in 32 matches. But, you know, if somebody only comes on for 20 minutes, does that really count as a whole match? Anyway, so that's just that's that one cleared up. So let's talk about Rasmus Hojlund as a player. In the qualifiers for the Euros, he's done really, really well. Obviously, he plays for the Danish national team. He scored 6 goals in 4 games for Denmark in the European qualifiers. He's actually the leading goal scorer in the European qualifiers at the moment and has been doing really, really well for Denmark. Let's have a deep dive into the player, though. Let's have a look at what we can expect from him. Obviously, he's still very raw. That's the one thing I want to say from the off. I don't expect him to come in and score 25, 30 goals in his first season. I think he will take time to develop. I don't think immediately we can expect that from him, but I do think in the next 2 to 3 years, I think he will be a 20 to 30 goal striker. Obviously, if Ten Hag can work his magic, Benny McCarthy, the striker coach, etc., I do think he'll go on to be a very, very, very good player. But where he is at the moment, what can Manchester United fans expect this season? So he's very, very fast, but he's also tall and physical. He's 6'3". He's extremely strong. I don't want to compare him to Haaland because that's the kind of obvious one. So if I was to compare him to another player based on what I've seen of him, I'd say he's quite similar to Zlatan Ibrahimovic when he was around the same age. Obviously quite tall, very physical, also has some pace, but he also has elements to his game of a Cavani and a Ronaldo. And you're probably thinking, Kieran, we've only just announced that we're signing him. Why are you comparing him to Ronaldo already? But once I explain, I think you'll get what I mean. He does this really, really special thing where he makes really last-minute runs. You know, like Ronaldo does, where he makes a last-minute run around the defender and he kind of curves his runs around the defender and just gets in behind them at the nick of time. That's exactly what Rasmus Hojlund does. And a lot of his goals last season were like that. The defender would think that there was no threat at all. And then out of nowhere, he'd curve his run, he'd come around the side and he'd get a goal. So that's something that he's very, very good at, which does remind me of what Cavani would do and what Ronaldo would do. And because of his pace, he generates momentum once he gets to the ball and then he just bangs it in. So yeah, that's something that I really, really do like about him. His goal scoring ability is absolutely elite. It really, really is. He scores lots of different goals, but I am just going to add here, the only negative side of his game in relation to goal scoring is his heading ability. He hasn't really scored that many headed goals. So that is definitely something that, Erik Ten Hag and his team need to work on. Although Manchester United don't really put any high crosses into the box ever. So maybe that's what they've looked at. They've said, he's really good at scoring with his feet. And we don't even put, we don't put crosses into the box in the air anyway. So I don't know. I still think we should be doing that and we should try and improve his heading skills. But as it stands, if you bring in somebody who's really good at headering, they're going to be completely wasted because nobody ever puts the ball into the box to people's heads. A lot of the time, the ball's played to feet, and that is something he's really, really good at. For somebody who's 6'3", he's very good at receiving the ball. He's good at holding up the ball, and he's good at passing the ball to other players, bringing people into the game, which is something I really, really like about his play. Obviously, he is a striker. He is a true number 9, but for Atalanta, he has played on the left quite a lot, so in the left wing position, which I think is really, really positive, actually, because that does mean this season we can kind of rotate between Rasmus Hojlund and Marcus Rashford as the two strikers. It does mean that either Rasmus can go on the wing or he can go on the bench. And we do know that we have Rashford as well as having Rasmus Hojlund, because I do think throwing him in the deep end this season is a massive risk. As I said, he's only 20 years of age. I think he needs a couple of years until he reaches his kind of full peak. And maybe even then he might not be at his full peak. It could take longer than 2 or 3 years, So I do think that the ability he has to play in different positions is really, really positive. And it does give us some more options, because I wouldn't want him just to be starting every single game as a striker and then for him to kind of, just already this morning, all right? Sky Sports have already been putting out tweets comparing his stats with Erling Haaland's. And it's just like, we haven't even signed the guy yet. He hasn't even done his medical. And the mainstream media are already comparing him to Erling Haaland. It's just really, really obvious. And to be honest with you, it's kind of boring reporting if you ask me. But maybe you guys like that type of thing. But for me, I just think it's quite uninspiring reporting, because, they're completely different players at this stage of their career, Erling Haaland was way more developed when he came to Manchester City. He was absolutely banging in goals for fun for Borussia Dortmund before he came to City. So I don't think it's a fair comparison. If City had got him before he went to Manchester to Dortmund, then yeah, that would be a good comparison. But anyway, I don't really like those types of comparisons. So let's move on with the deep dive into into Rasmus Hojlund. He drops quite deep quite a lot, which is something that maybe I'm not too sure about. Obviously, Bruno is going to occupy that space. We've just signed Mason Mount, but he does drop quite deep. The one positive to this is, obviously, he brings players with him. So that will allow Marcus Rashford, that will allow Anthony. It allows other people to find space. So there's a bit of a pros and cons to that, Is he going to kind of get in the way of Bruno? Hopefully not. Hopefully he just drops deep and it allows Marcus Rashford to get in. And, with Marcus's blistering pace, if any player moves out of their kind of defensive line, then Marcus will be in, won't they? So I do think that would be a really good strength to our game. For his height, he is absolutely technically elite. He really, really is. For somebody who's so tall, he's 6'3", obviously quite physical. Sometimes the taller players can be quite clumsy on the ball, but he is definitely not clumsy on the ball. He is very, very good with his feet, which is obviously something that Erik ten Hag wants. Erik ten Hag wants to be playing possession-based football. He wants to have 70% possession every single game. And having a player like Rasmus Hojlund, who is good on the ball, who hold up the play, who can bring others into the game, will really, really help Erik ten Hag get his message across. He's really good at link-up play as well, which is something I really, really like. He's good at bringing other people in, as I just said. And one thing that I do especially like about this player is his weak foot ability is absolutely incredible. He isn't one-footed. He can score with his right. He can score with his left. He's not like someone like Anthony, who literally can only use his left foot, it seems. He can use both feet, and he scores with both feet as well, which is something I do really, really like. And as I said, the only bit that I think is missing from his shooting game at the moment is his heading ability. Left foot, right foot, volleys, all of that, he is absolutely amazing, but heading, not so good. His positioning is also really, really, really good for someone of his age. Obviously, he's only 20 years of age. He's not that experienced. He's still very young, but he has got the knowledge of positioning of someone way older and with way more experience. So I think that will really help his game for Manchester United this season. His movement's very intelligent as well, which again will really help bring in people like Rashford, people like Anthony, people like Bruno, Mason Mount. For somebody so young, he is an intelligent footballer, and I think that is what has attracted Erik ten Hag to this player, because at the end of the day, Erik ten Hag wants to play intelligent football. It's not your old school type of football where you hoof the ball down the pitch and you score a scrappy goal. Erik ten Hag wants 70% plus possession. He wants to completely dominate teams, and you don't bring in a striker who isn't good on the ball and isn't intelligent when you have a manager like Erik ten Hag. So yeah, that's one thing that I really did notice from Rasmus Hojlund's game, and I can see him fitting into Erik ten Hag's system absolutely perfectly. Obviously, because he's 6'3", he's very physical as well, which I think will be really helpful in the Premier League. He doesn't get pushed off the ball that much, and he is quite good at holding up the ball, passing it off to others, and also beating players. If he's running at you, he's not only fast, but he's also physical, and he's very difficult to get the ball off. So that is something which will really, really benefit us in the Premier League, because you know how physical and difficult the Premier League is for strikers. Now, Overall, obviously, he is still very young. He does need to develop quite a lot. I'm not saying I'm going to expect him to be scoring 30 goals this season. I think that would be unrealistic for me personally, but maybe your opinion is different to that. As always, I do ask you to let me know in the comments section. Answer me this one question. How many goals will Rasmus Hojlund score in the Premier League for Manchester United this season? Now, I just want to know in the Premier League, so we're not counting all competitions. I want to know how many goals in the Premier League will Rasmus Hojlund score in you guys' opinions. I always look forward to seeing you guys' comments, so do make sure you get them in and let me know your opinion. I'm going with 15. I think he'll get 15 goals in the Premier League. I think he'll have a good season, and I think he'll definitely be a good signing. I'm really, really excited about this one. Obviously, as I said, the deal is not 100% confirmed yet. The fee has been agreed between the two clubs, and we are expecting a medical in the next 24 to 48 hours. So if anything crazy goes wrong, then obviously, yeah, he might not sign for Manchester United. But at this stage, I'd say it's probably 99% sure that Rasmus Hojlund will become a Manchester United player. I do hope you've enjoyed this latest episode of the Topic Focus series. This has been Daily Red Devil. I've been Kieran. Please do smash a like on the video, and please do subscribe before you go. Lots of love, everyone, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.